It's that time of year again. That's right, it is gearless season. In this video, I'm going to give you guys a list of gift ideas for that gravel or bike packer in your life. A lot of these I have personally owned and used, and some of them have been suggested by members of our Discord server. So what makes a good stocking stuffer? Well, clearly it's got to be small, something that fits in a stocking, but also I think it's something that you probably wouldn't buy for yourself because it would feel like too much of a splurge, but you would be stoked to receive it for the holidays. At least that's going to be my working definition here. So first off, I want to start off with some practical things. And one really cool stocking stuffer, I think, is the Tubolito. I know tubes are sort of hard to get excited about, but these are actually pretty awesome. What sets them apart is that they are super small and lightweight, really easy to stuff in a seat bag. They're a little bit spendy as a daily consumable, but if I got this in a stocking, I would be super stoked. One quick note, if you are going to gift someone one of these, they do make a ton of different versions. Some of them are specifically for disc brake only, and others are a little bit thicker so they can be run with rim brakes, which are very large disc brakes, as we know. Another fun but practical stocking stuffer would be some really nice valve stems. If you're gifting a cyclist that is very anal retentive about color matching, or someone that wants a little bling on their bike, I highly recommend these muck off valve stems. We have them on Laura's bike. I have them on several of my bikes. One nice thing about them is that the cap of one of the valve stems actually works as a press-to-core removal tool. That makes it so there is one less tool to carry. If you're mucking around with the valve stem, the tool you need is already on the valve stem, so that's super nice. Another great option is the Fillmore Reserve valve stems. I haven't made a video on these yet, but I've been using them for the past year on a couple of bikes, and I've been pretty impressed with them. Their value proposition is that they've re-engineered the press-to-valve so it has more air throughput. What this means in practice is when you're pumping up your tire, it will require less pumps. So lots of small benefits, but if you work with tires a ton, they sort of add up. My only complaint was the proprietary cap on the first kind of Gen 1 models that were all black and very easy to lose on the trail. They've since addressed that, and now you can get colored caps for these valve stems. Next up are cable cherries, and these are pretty simple. They replace the cable crimps on the end of your brake and shifter cables. They come in a variety of colors, and aside from putting some nice bling on your bike, they do serve the purpose of making it easier to reuse your cables if you're doing a repair. I'm running these specifically on the Tanglefoot because I'm setting this up as a dual handlebar setup, so with alt bars and drop bars. And when I swap between bars, I don't have to cut the cables. I just undo the cable cherries, swap out the bars, and redo the cable cherries. A little bit of a niche use, I know, but super handy. All right, another small yet nice kind of gift are these guys. These are the Austere Manufacturing straps. These are machined and painted in the US. We did a whole live stream with the folks at Austere, and we learned a ton about what goes into the buckle. They basically built it from the ground up, so you have a very grippy, high-strength buckle, but in a smaller size. They come in a lot of fun colors, and these might just be the ultimate bike packing, bike touring, or just kind of life strap. The next one is the Dynaplug. If you're not familiar with these are used to seal a puncture in a tubeless tire. How they differ from other kind of tubeless tire repair kits is usually there's a reamer tool, and then you have to get the bacon strips, you know, their word, not mine, and you jam it in there. With this guy, it's a lot simpler. You just undo one end, and then you jab this into the hole, and it releases the plug, and it seals up the hole. This is the Racer model. And this one comes with two different size plugs. One is this larger blunt one, and the other is this kind of smaller one for smaller holes. I've actually had the chance to use this on the trail, and it works surprisingly well. You just stop really quickly, you know, deploy this, jam it into your tire, pull it out, and as long as the hole is not too big, it's going to seal it up. And speaking of Dynaplugs, another great stocking stuffer is this tool by PNW Components. It is their Pebble multi-tool. Aside from coming in some really cool anodized colors like this pretty sweet purple one, it actually has a built-in Dynaplug. It has most of the hex sizes that you would need with the addition of a Dynaplug ready to go. So it's a nice kind of tidy all-in-one package. And of course I would be completely remiss if I didn't mention all the patches and pins and stickers that we sell. All very small and will fit in a stocking, and if your partner or whoever you're shopping for is a fan of the channel, they'll be pretty stoked. Another great stocking stuffer is a pump, and one of my personal favorite pumps is the Silka Tatico. What I like about this pump is that it has this retractable hose, so you push this onto the valve, and this makes it less likely to accidentally bend the valve core. Another big plus is it has a locking chuck. You push this over the valve and then lock it down like that. What's nice about this is, unlike some other pumps where you might screw it onto the valve core, sometimes I found that those pumps do have a tendency to unscrew the valve core if it's not locked down very well. This one, however, there's no danger of that. You simply just lock it on with a lever, loosen it up, and then pull it off. Silka did come out with a gravel specific version of this one. I believe it's called like the Gravello or something. It's supposed to be higher volume, and that is my one complaint about the Tatico, is that I wish it had more volume. The gravel one addresses it, although I've not used it personally, but if it's anything like the Tatico, you'd be stoked. Okay, let's talk grips. Nothing says supple country on your ATB than ECI silicone grips. I've been a big fan of ECI grips long before we did any kind of collaborative work with them. They're one of the few grips that I can use on flat or alt bars and that help alleviate the wrist pain I get from all the video editing. Granted, they are a little bit of a bear to put on, but once you have them on your bars, it is supple country, my friends. We've got a whole bunch of colors from pink, aqua, this kind of dark grayish black, and of course my favorite, what we're calling the Punky Brewster colorway. So you get both the pink and the aqua in one pair. And not for everyone, but if it's for you, you know who you are. The next thing on the list is the Rene Hurst handlebar mirror. This might be one of the nicest handlebar mirrors out there on the market. It's beautifully machined and finished and says safety with class. The image circle is a little bit small, but one nice thing about this, as opposed to other mirrors that are similar to this, like the Corky, which I did try, is that there's no mirror distortion. So the cars in the distance are still fairly legible. They're not kind of further than they appear, if you know what I mean. If you look at the back, there's this machine ball joint, so it really lets you fine tune the angle. I think this works best on paved roads. It does vibrate a little bit once you get on the chunky stuff, but still fairly usable. But yeah, if you want to get probably the nicest mirror that money can buy, here it is. The next stocking stuffer is less a specific item and more of kind of an idea, if you will. And that is the gift of color matching bolts. If you want to splash out, you can check out the Wolf Tooth color shop, where you choose a color and it will show you all their products that are anodized the same color. So that way you could get matching bolts, headset spacers, seat post clamp, you name it, they've anodized it. I think a complete color matching kit would be a pretty awesome gift. You do have to know their favorite color, however, so there you go. If you're looking for a gift for a bike packer or a bike tourist, that's what we used to call bike packers back in my day. I'm starting to sound like an old person. No self-respecting bike traveler would be without an Opinel. They're classy and they're sharp, and they're perfect for cutting up roadside charcuterie or fruit that you buy along the way. I personally like the high carbon blade ones because you can get them scary sharp. The metal is a little bit softer, so they're easier to sharpen. The downside is you have to be a little bit more careful about the blade, making sure to dry and oil it. Otherwise it gets over patinated, let's say. But yeah, every supple cyclist should not be without an Opinel. So we're big tire and tire pressure nerds on this channel, and the first step to dialing in your tire pressure is knowing exactly what it is. So that means having a good gauge. You could go with something digital like the Topeak D2. For analog lovers, the Miser press-to-valve gauges are awesome. One great thing about the Miser AccuGauges is you can get them with different scales. So if you're running mostly gravel tires, they've got a gauge that maxes out at 60. So that means it's more accurate in that 20 to like 35, 40 PSI range. If you want to go absolutely baller, you could buy the Truth Gauge by Silca. This gauge has been used by World Tour mechanics in races like Paris-Roubaix. It's made in the US, weather compensating, super accurate to like 0.2%, and probably the ultimate tire gauge out there. Back to the touring cyclist for a moment. Every touring cyclist should have at least one bandana, and it makes a great stocking stuffer. You can use a bandana as a pot holder on tour, something to cover the back of your neck or the front of your neck. When it's hot, you can dip it in water and really take advantage of that evaporative cooling. You can use it as a sweatband or even as a makeshift tablecloth, or something to wrap the freshly baked bread that you'll pick up along the way. Another crowd pleaser is the Spur cycle bell. Designed and made in the US, there are many copies of this bell, but get the original. They'll appreciate that. And it's got such a loud and pleasant sound for something so small. I mean, just feeling it, it's really nicely made. Looks great on any bike. If you're path leading it to the trail to get to that grab, you can warn people of all your watts coming with this bell. Okay, 2 more tools, and I swear that's it for the tool nerdery. I'm a huge fan of trying to get the most out of your components, making sure that things don't get overworn. And one great tool to make sure that doesn't happen is a really good chain checker. There are many out there on the market. From what I've read, this Shimano one is supposed to be the best. It's basically a go, no-go chain checker. You slip this between some links, and if it falls through, then change that chain. Supposedly what makes this different from other chain checkers is that it's precision cut rather than stamped. So super accurate and will get the job done really quickly. The final tool is a small Knipex plier. What's unique about this is that you can kind of use it as a ratchet. You know, you clamp down and you turn, you let it go back, clamp down and turn. And because of its design, it applies even pressure to the bolt, as opposed to like a spanning wrench where it tends to be a little bit tighter near the pivot. This is supposed to give some of the most even gripping force on a nut. You can use this to tighten down fender bolts or rack bolts or any bolts. You could use it as a plier in a pinch to kind of hold on to things. A little bit on the spenny side, fits in the stocking, and if your giftee is a tool nerd, they will know what this is and will be super stoked. 2 more things that aren't directly bike related, but are things that we like to do on the bike. The first one is birding, and a great gift for the bike birder out there are these Knox Monoculars. They're pretty robust, colorful, quick to use. You can put them up to your eye and focus really quickly one-handed, and small enough to put in a top tube bag or a feed bag. Highly recommend them as a gift to the bike birder. As you guys know, another activity I like to do while biking is painting. And I've played with a bunch of different palettes. If you're giftee, hopefully that's the right word, also likes to paint, in particular watercolor. The Art Toolkit watercolor kits are pretty awesome. They might be the smallest and lightest watercolor palettes out there on the market. They don't have super deep wells, so they're better suited to the urban sketcher, someone that combines ink with paint. You could do a full painting with them. They just wouldn't be my first choice for that kind of artwork. Another great palette that I use is the portable painter palette. This is pretty cool because it breaks apart, and when you reassemble it, you've got a little cup for your water, another cup for your brushes. Put that on your knee and make your arts. Again, not directly bike related, but you guys know we like to mix it up on this channel. Okay, so that was a ton of gift ideas, but hopefully it got your wheels turning in terms of what you could get that bike nerd in your life. In addition to all these things, you should also definitely check out our merch store. We just got our Party Pace fenders back in stock, another great gift. If you like this content, consider supporting us on Patreon, stopping by the merch store, all that good stuff, and as always, keep the supple side down.